So what I'm doing today is I want to find out how long this mini fridge will run on this 12 volt 100 amp hour battery. I was sent this battery so I could use it in the review, and this is a refrigerator that I've had in my garage for a couple years. But how long will it run on a 100 amp hour battery? We're going to find out. So the battery, of course, is now out of the box because I did charge it to 100%. Some of the cool things about this battery is it does have an LCD on top. As you can see, maybe in the video it's showing 100%. That's because it's fully charged. It does have Bluetooth also. It's got a nice little app that will let you keep track of the status of this battery. I also really like the case it's in. It's got a nice handle. For a Group 31 size battery, they use the space well. Another thing is this is IP67 rated, so you can use this as like a trolling motor or in slightly wet conditions like on your boat. Of course, you don't want to submerge it or anything, but it will be safe around wet environments. Then, when it comes to the refrigerator, this is just your standard mini fridge that you would get at any box store or online. It will hold a few 2 liters, couple gallons of water, milk, whatever. It does have a little freezer compartment. I want to do the test from basically room temperature, like you were plugging this thing in for the first time and using it. So that's what I'm doing here. Cleaned out, nothing in it. There's nothing in the freezer compartment. It's just ready to go to be plugged in. So the run times, numbers, everything are going to be based on that. I'm going to go ahead and get an inverter set up on this battery, and we're going to get this thing started. All right, so I'm getting ready for the test here. We have on the negative lead line into the inverter, there is a shunt. So I am monitoring all the power that's coming out of the battery and going into the inverter. So the battery monitor is specifically looking at the wattage coming out of the battery. It's not calculating anything beyond that. Here it says 14.0102. So they're pretty close, and that's normal with these one-op lead wires. So everything is good here. If you notice also, this inverter is showing about a 16 watt overhead of it just sitting here idle. When the fans are running, it's in the mid 20s. I'm going to plug it in now. As soon as I plugged it in, fans kicked on. I heard the compressor and the fridge kick on. That's very normal because the motor, the compressor motor on the refrigerator is going to have a jolt of power going in, and that is to get that motor running, and then it's going to settle out. Now, if you look at the battery monitor, it's running at about 60-ish watts, 57 right now. It was at 62. I think that's because the fans were on. But we're looking at probably 57, 58 watts. So let's just say 60. So while this thing is running, it's going to be using probably around 60 watts. When it's off, probably very little energy. I'm going to let this run. It's probably going to run at this for a while to get it down to temp. But when I do see the compressor kick off and everything looks leveled out, I'll start the camera back up again so we can get a shot of what this looks like just idle and not really running, so you can get kind of like a baseline power and a max power run. Also, if you look here, it's flipping between the battery voltage or the voltage that's coming into the inverter and the actual wattage that's being used. So even though that says 64.4, this is saying 57. So that's the actual power the inverter's kicking out. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and let this run, and I will come back when I see that wattage amount change. All right, I gave it some time to, like I said, cool down completely in there, and I think it's been long enough. I don't hear anything on the mini fridge at all running, and we're at what, 12.9 or 13 watts. So there's probably a very small amount of power being pulled from that fridge, maybe a couple watts, and then the other 10 or so are probably just the overhead from the inverter. So pretty low when it's just at idle. If no one's opening the door, closing it, doing all of that, letting all the cold air out, it probably will stay like this for a while, depending on how insulated that thing is. So I'm just gonna let this thing run. When the Bluetooth on this tells me that it's getting pretty close to 0 or at 0, I'll come check it. And there's the inverter beeping. You'll know if the BMS kicks off because this will go blank. That would be the battery turning off power, or if it's the inverter that turns off. Good. So that shows the BMS protected the battery and cut off. So a lot of batteries that I test, it is the actual inverter that turns off, and the BMS would still have this running. But in this case, the BMS is set to low voltage. That's it. I'm not giving you any more power, and that is protecting the lithium cells that are inside of this battery from going too low and damaging themselves. So that's good. Another, thumbs up for this Orion battery here. The BMS did what it's supposed to do and it protected itself. But that's it. 62 hours. That was what I was wanting to find out, is how long I could run a mini fridge on a 100 amp hour battery, and 62 hours is what I got. Well beyond what I expected it to be. I was really thinking 1.5 days, maybe 2. I thought we would eke out maybe 2, and we surpassed 2 pretty easy. We got about 2.5 days. So very good. I hope this information was helpful. Thank you very much for watching. Y'all take care.